Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sam here, live on United People's TV after what was a hell of a Monday. We were here right on time for the Champions League draw, and then the Champions League draw got voided after a ridiculous draw. And then Manchester United drew PSG in the first draw, second draw. Why not? Yeah, let's go for Atletico Madrid. That happened. Then we had news that Manchester United's Carrington training ground had been closed down because of COVID. We were like, what's going to happen with the Brentford game? Waiting until 10 to midnight on Monday night. Less than 24 hours before the kickoff against Brentford, our game against Brentford gets postponed. I'm going to run through all the official news and the announcement this morning here with you live on YouTube and on Facebook. How are you all doing? You let me know. I'll give you as many shout outs throughout the entire stream as I can. Just wanted to make sure it's gone live on YouTube, and it has gone live. But good morning to all of you. As I said, that was a hell of a Monday. Monday's supposed to be a nice relaxing day. Instead, geez, what was that? We've got Mike watching from Red Ruth in Cornwall. Good morning to you, Mike. And good morning to everybody. Oh, look at this. My Italian 90 Germany shirt came. Look at that. Ralph Radnick's Reds. I love a nice retro jersey, and this one's absolutely beautiful, if I do say so myself. So I've got this on today. I thought, why not? But Brentford, Brentford's not happening. Let's go straight to the news. Let's waste absolutely no time and dive straight into it because there's plenty to talk about today. There always is with United, right? Postponement of Brentford game confirmed. As I said, I've highlighted it here. This is the important bit. Look at that bloody time. 10 to midnight on Monday night. And you can see from the title of this video, the reason I'm calling it a shambles is not because the game has been postponed. Manchester United have got a COVID-19 outbreak. For the safety of the players and the health of the players and the squad overall and stopping the spread, it made sense for the game to be postponed. The reason it's a shambles is because it happened at 10 to midnight on a Monday when the game was supposed to kick off on Tuesday at 7:30. I know a few guys that, I don't know, I've got a mate who's now having to book an extra flight back to Ireland for the game. And it's going to leave a lot of fans out of pocket, this decision, because 24 hours, look, I'm sure you've all done it before. You always, certainly nowadays anyway, you always get a 24-hour cancellation policy on hotels. You can do you can book with free cancellation on booking.com as long as you do it more than 24 hours before the actual date of arrival. Now, so many United fans, if they had hotels, can't do that. Any fans who had train travel, they can't do that. That 24-hour period, they keep talking about, football's nothing without fans, and now that football's back with fans, they don't give a crap about fans again. Let's just read through the actual announcement, what it said. So Manchester United can confirm that our Premier League fixture has been postponed following PCR confirmation of positive lateral flow tests among the first team, staff and players. The outbreak requires ongoing surveillance. A decision was taken to close Carrington for 24 hours to help minimise the risk. Given cancellation of training and disruption to the squad, and with the health of players and staff as a priority, the club requested for the match to be arranged. But the Premier League, as I said, did not confirm this until 10 to midnight. 10 to midnight. It's ridiculous. Lee, it's kind of something I agree with here. It should have been called off the second the training ground was closed. It's Mal, so I disagree. It's not a joke that the game was called off. Like Tottenham's game at the weekend, obviously Tottenham's midweek game in Europa League. That was it a Conference League? Jesus, I don't know what league they're in. That was called off. And it was the right decision to call it off. It was a shambles in the fact that it had to wait until midnight. We had to wait until midnight for that to happen. As I said, it's going to leave a lot of United fans out of pocket. And I can't believe it's taken that long. Chin May is saying definitely the Premier League's fault. Can't blame the clubs. Whoever's fault it was. And I think it was the Premier League because Manchester United requested that the game get postponed much, much earlier. I believe United did do it after the training ground was closed. But the Premier League, for some reason, took until midnight to make that decision. We've got Mustafa watching from Uganda. How you doing there, buddy? Sani watching from Nigeria. Good morning to both of you. Has it been rescheduled, says Takeoff? No, it's not been rescheduled just yet, my friend. But I believe, looking at the calendar, looking at where we've got some gaps, I think there's a bit of a winter break, isn't there? Towards the end of January. Kind of strikes me as that it will probably go into that bit there. But yeah, there's no game this week. And let's be honest, right? If that game against Brentford's been postponed, there is every chance that game against Brighton on Saturday does not go ahead. Remember that Brighton, I believe they've got a COVID-19 outbreak inside their squad as well, Manchester United. So both teams have a bit of a COVID situation at the moment. So there is every chance that game against Brighton on Saturday gets postponed too. We can't know that yet because it's Tuesday. We've got plenty of time. Now, as far as I know, from all the news I've been reading and the reports, when it comes to who has been affected inside Manchester United squad, it wasn't actually anybody who travelled as part of that team that faced Norwich. So that whole match day squad that faced Norwich, none of those have got coronavirus, but maybe it's someone else inside the first team. We don't know names yet. And I suppose it doesn't really matter that much. Now, Carrington didn't completely close yesterday. You might have seen it yet last night at Old Trafford. The FA Youth Cup was played. And also the women's team is also training inside Carrington's because everybody has their own segregated bubbles. So it's not everyone just like doing a free-for-all, like high-fiving in Carrington's corridors. And that's why the women's team was able to continue. And that's why the youth teams were able to continue. But for United and the first team, Carrington was completely closed yesterday. And that game against Brentford now is not going ahead. What's going on here, John? You're saying his fans always have been treated badly by the clubs and the FA. It shouldn't be a surprise. John, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a surprise, John. It's just it's just very, very unnecessary. Very unnecessary. It could have been done yesterday afternoon. It's a bit like, I don't know, to not get put, well, you have to get political when I'm saying this, but, you know, in the way that the government handled the first lockdown and the delays. I just don't get why that decision was delayed there. Scott, what are you saying here? What do you reckon about Brighton on Sat? I'm set to be going. Scott, have a look at your train ticket, man, or however you're getting down there, because I think there's a chance it could get cancelled. I'm not going to say it is because, no, it's Tuesday now and everything can change. And, of course, Manchester United's training schedule has been, you know, torn apart. In the day after Norwich, we had a light training session that was modified because of the COVID outbreak. So there was no indoor mixing. There was no contact training. And then on Monday, training got cancelled completely. So Manchester United haven't trained properly since before the game against Norwich. And let's be honest, we look how we played against Norwich, right? We were pretty poor in that game against Norwich, and fortunate to come away with 3 points overall. Really, that was because of David De Gea. It was a clean sheet, not the same sort of clean sheet that we got against Crystal Palace. It was a David De Gea clean sheet, one of the old school ones. Matt, you're saying I'm tired of COVID. Be safe out there. Everyone's tired of COVID now. My God. Good morning, Paul. Nice to see you there in the comments as always. Just cancel football over the festive period. It's obviously going to get worse. Now, honestly, ladies, let me know what you think about this in the comments. Do you think there's a chance it could happen? I don't think it can be ruled out. I personally don't think there's any chance of it being cancelled, but I think there's a decent chance of it going behind closed doors for a few weeks. Oh my God, I'm not sure about you, but that gives me nightmares. I really fell out of love with football for like a decent while when that was happening. At the start, it was just something you kind of got used to. You were just happy to see football back. Just to see football back again, you didn't really care that much that it was an empty stadium. But you gave it a few games, and then you were like, this is crap. This is so sanitized. There is no hostility, no atmosphere whatsoever. And you were like, oh my God. It was hard to get excited about the football. So the idea of it going back behind closed doors at a time when we've got Ragnick in, at a time when the excitement was starting to build again, at a time when I bought a bloody replica Germany shirt and put it on. Don't know what I just did there. Did there twice. And you're saying, Sam, I think it's quite likely it will go fanless again. And I think it is quite likely as well. I'll be honest. Tim, you're saying there are so many games over Christmas. How on earth would you replay them all? That's what I mean, Tim. I don't think that they will cancel football, but I think it's very, very, very likely that where there could be, well, I would say it's guaranteed that there will be reduced capacity at the very least. It won't be full stadiums in like a week or two. I'd say even before Christmas, probably. Actually, there's only one round of game. There's only one round of fixtures left. Probably looking at Boxing Day onwards, I'd say it's going to be reduced capacity, maybe 10 to 15,000. And maybe that won't be as bad as it sounds. Maybe as long as there's some fans in there, right? But you just can't rule out the fact that it might go empty again. Darren, good morning to you. You join as a member. I've not seen you around here. Lovely to see you there. Let me know where you're watching from, Darren. When will we know the rescheduled date, says Jason? Well, I don't know if we know it just yet, but if I was to quickly have a look at Manchester United's fixtures now, Jason, I can probably make an educated guess. because I think if you were to look towards the fixtures on January, at the moment we play West Ham on the 22nd of January, and then as far as I can see, let me go on the Man United official website, make sure this is correct. I've got mine on the calendar, although Man United do the calendar, so you think it'll be correct. Let's have a look. Let's pull this up here. Let's see if we can identify where that gap is. I think I know where it is. Let's go and have a look. Let's put it up here. So these are the fixtures. And if I'm correct, there should be a gap at the end. So there you go. Look. So we currently play West Ham on the 22nd of January. And we don't play again in the Premier League until the 8th of February. So you're likely looking at a fixture shoved in those 2 weeks there. So probably like start of February is when you're going to see that game rescheduled. Now, I think the next round of the FA Cup will probably fall inside there, won't it? At some point. So that'll take up one of the weekends if we beat Aston Villa anyway. Now, I imagine that's when the match will be played at some point between the West Ham at home game and the Burnley away on the 22nd of January to the 8th of Feb. Let me go down here and let's see what you're all saying. Hey, look, Victor is right there. Let's hope the Brighton game isn't cancelled. Genuinely, ladies and gents, don't rule it out. Do not rule it out. Clearly, this Omicron. Well, let's not get into. Jesus Christ, I'm not getting into vaccination conversations. Oh my God, that would drive me insane. But clearly, it's spreading at a rate, and yeah, it's scaring the government. It's scaring the population again. Won't after the January 2nd. What's that saying? Won't after the January 22nd with the schedule for an effort? Yeah, that's what I just said. Let's go down here and see what else you're saying. COVID here is like a cold and won't leave. Look, at some point it will settle down, but this Omicron's come back in and made it a bit scary. Scary, wrong word. Just I'm so goddamn done with it. I'm not sure if you are, but I'm so done with it. My God, jeez. Well, anyway, let's move on from it. Otherwise, because if I keep talking about COVID-19, I'm going to go crazy. So let's speak about Anthony Martial instead. I'm going to move on from what I'm going to do now in the next 48 hours, right? On United People's TV, we're going to be focusing on the January transfer window. We've got there's no football. We don't know football's coming up on Saturday. We've got no football all week now, so we've got a full week to really think about it. What I'm going to do today, I think I'm going to do a video on my dream January transfer window. Later in the week, I'm going to do a video on what I think Rangnick's plans are for the January transfer window. If you've got any other ideas for videos you'd like me to do on the January transfer window between now and the 1st of January in a build-up to it, you let me know on Twitter at @SamPeoples_, and I might do some of your videos if they're good ideas anyway. But let's speak about Anthony Martial, because as I said, let's move on from this game against Brentford. It's been called off. I think it's an utter shambles, the fact that they didn't tell it wasn't announced until midnight the night before the game. Leaves a lot of fans out of pocket, and that's ridiculous. It's an absolute shambles as that's happened. So that's all I can say on that. Really, there's nothing else to say. But moving forward, as I said, let's talk about transfers. I'm going to be speaking now. There's genuinely quite a lot to talk about here, so it should be a decent enough show. I'm going to be speaking about Anthony Martial and Rangnick's comments on him, which I found very interesting. We'll have a little bit more reaction to the Atletico Madrid draw yesterday. I'm going to get your opinions, because there were so many people on the stream yesterday. I might have missed quite a few of your opinions, so I apologise about that. Going to be speaking about Jesse Lingard to Newcastle. Going to be speaking about Frankie de Jong. Going to be speaking about Edinson Cavani. It could be busy. It could be busy. Let's go here and let's see. And now these quotes here, I tell you what, these put a smile on my face. A smile on my face, because Anthony Martial was missing for the game against Norwich. And then his agent came out all big mouth. Anthony wants to leave. He's not playing enough. He doesn't get enough love. He didn't say that. But his agent came out and started moaning in the press. And this was Rangnick's reaction when he was questioned about it. He said, I don't communicate with agents via the media and the press. The player hasn't spoken with me or with us about it. After the final training session before the Palace game, after having trained with the team, he informed the doctor and the medical department that he will not be available because the pain on his knee is too big. We will have to wait and see, but I have to speak to the doctor first. To be honest, what his agent says via the media is not that much of interest to me. Asked if he would then speak to Martial about his agent's remarks, he said no, because then I will react to what his agent says. It should be the player. If he really has the wish to go to another club, it should be the player who informs either the board or myself, whomever. But I have never spoken about a player via the media or via agents. Now, Ralph is literally up there just slapping Martial's agent and said, look, man, you dirty snake. How about you get some cojones and don't speak to the press. You want Martial to leave? You come and knock on my door. That's it. That's the only way that you can make that happen. That's what I want to see from the manager, man. That's exactly what I want to see from the manager. And he did the same thing to a lesser degree. He did the same thing with Paul Pogba when he said, look, if it was my decision, Paul Pogba would not be doing a warm weather rehab in Dubai. He'd be right here at the club with me overlooking and overseeing his recovery. He's taken control back. He's taken control back away from the players. And that bit there, yeah. Because agents, let's be honest, in the way that the modern game has gone for the last 4 or 5 years, the power of the agent has just gone skywards. Mino Raiola is obviously the antichrist as far as a lot of football fans are concerned. But he gets what the players want, just not what the clubs want. And it's been a bit of a power struggle at Manchester United, really. Let's think about it, between agents and players for quite some time now. So to see Ralph up there slapping up a few agents and saying, look, don't be such a chicken shit and go to the press and say that your player wants to leave. If you want to leave, you come knock on my door. We'll speak about it. It's such a cowardly, when you really think about it, it's a very cowardly way to go around doing things. And that's what agents do. They're cowards. They use the press as that. The press has become their biggest, it's like a shotgun. It's their biggest weapon in their arsenal, because they know they can say whatever they want throughout the press, and then it's not really them doing it. It's how the press do it. It's them taking a little bit of responsibility away from their own decision-making process. So to hear him say that about Martial's agent, look, I'm sure Martial will leave. And I did my video on Martial a while ago. I think I might have deleted it. I think I took it offline, actually, because it was the first time I don't really go after players. But I think I went after Martial. I was like, goodbye, like he's done. I wasn't wrong. But just it's not my style to really do that and sort of go after a player in that as much as I did after Martial. So I kind of regretted it. But Martial's going to be leaving. Martial should be leaving. And just for me, it's massively, massively refreshing to hear those sorts of comments from Ralph Rangnick about the fact that I will literally not reply or respond to any agent who tries to speak to me through the press. If you want to speak to me, you come and speak to me. And it puts Martial's agent now on the back foot, because he's going to have to sheepishly go and speak to Rangnick. And basically the first thing he's going to say is that I'm going to have to apologize for doing it through the press first. Powers back to Rangnick, like that. Let's go down here and see what you're all saying in the comments here. Pogba rehab in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, potato. Close enough. Love it, Ralph kicking ass. He is. My little Germany shirt. How nice is this shirt, by the way? Look at that. Italianati one. Absolutely gorgeous. Love the patterns. Yeah. Wreck-It Ralph indeed. Ralph Rangnick's German Reds. We're here. Jonathan, you're saying it's not that they're cowards. It is deliberately designed to cause problems and make the agent's life easier by stirring it up and creating an agenda. Well, you've just answered, then they are cowards, because it is designed to cause problems and make the agent's life easier, aka they are cowards. So, bit of an oxymoron there. I think they are. I think it's a coward's way of conversation. And yeah, he's nipping it in the sweet, sweet butt. So that's what I'm happy about that. That's a bit good news. Good news or bad news depends where you sit on this side of the fence. Manchester United against Atletico Madrid. What's your take on this draw, ladies and gents? It was PSG, then it wasn't PSG. Now it's Atletico Madrid. It's Griezmann. It's Suarez. It's Yannick Carrasco. It's Jan Oblak. My God, Oblak against De Gea. That would be a good one. I hadn't really thought about that side story. De Gea going back to face Atletico Madrid, the club where it all started for him. What's your take on this draw? Are you putting Manchester United down as favourites for this time? Or are you putting out Atletico Madrid as favourites? Because it's a very hard one to call. It really is. On paper, I personally agree with this. On paper, this is my reaction. I said this is definitely worse than PSG, because I know what Atletico Madrid do. I know what Diego Simeone does. I know the style of football they play. I would rather have faced PSG, because it would have been a far more open game. I think it would have suited United more. But then if you look at how Atletico Madrid are playing this season, I think they're 13 14 points off Real Madrid in La Liga. They've had 3 games in that group stage in the Champions League where they didn't score. And even in their last game against Porto, the 3-1, I don't think they scored. They waited until the last few minutes to hit them on the counter-attack. They're not the same Atletico Madrid that got to a couple of Champions League finals, which they may have lost both of them to that man and Cristiano Ronaldo. But they're not that team anymore. So they've definitely lost a bit of the fear factor. And let's be honest, so have Manchester United over the years. Jeez. Let me go down here. I'm going to read a few of your comments out here. We have Ronaldo, and Atletico is scared of him, mate. Ronaldo has scored 4 hat-tricks against Atletico Madrid. 4 hat-tricks. You know how much of a joke that is? What an absolute joke of a human. Let me pull up those pictures here. They did make me laugh when I tweeted those yesterday. Absolute joke of a human being. And Atletico Madrid, I reckon Atletico Madrid fans still wake up in cold sweats because of Cristiano Ronaldo, because he has given them some of their worst memories as fans. We pull these pictures up here. Let's get them up here for you. Look at that. One hat trick there from Ronaldo. Oh, lovely. Look, that's nice and smug. Oh, you can't see that one. But that's him against Juventus. Remember what happened there? If you haven't watched that compilation yet, geez, that is the best compilation you'll ever see. I've got to try and get that on YouTube without getting slapped down for copyright. That'll be fun. When Juve lost 2-0 in the first leg to Atletico, and then they won 3-0 in the second leg, and Ronaldo scored a hat-trick and knocked them out. My word. Then you had this one here, another hat-trick from Ronaldo. Look how young he is there. And then, oh, yeah, why not? Yep, there's another hat-trick from Ronaldo. He loves scoring against Atletico Madrid, and Atletico Madrid hate Cristiano Ronaldo. I absolutely want to see that celebration as well. You're talking about, I can see in the comments there, it's all talking about the celebration from Ronaldo. A bit of this. You want the peace? Huh? You know, I don't know why he's from The Godfather, but apparently he is. Remember that? It's because this is what Diego Simeone did in the first leg when they went 1-0 up, I believe. That was his reaction. So Ronaldo was holding that bad boy in for a while. And as soon as he could, have a bit of that, Diego. Swivel on it. I can't wait to see it. It's a proper Champions League tie, eh? It is a proper Champions League tie, and we've all got to be excited about that. We're always going to be nervous no matter who we play. If we were playing PSG, I'm sure we would be equally as nervous going into the game. But because we've got that man in our team, you cannot rule anything out. You cannot rule anything out. You've got Wisdom saying Atletico Madrid's low block will suit Rangnick's pressing style. I mean, if you're looking at Rangnick's pressing style and what he really wants, he likes to press quite high up the pitch. So surely that would be a bit of a contrast, because it means that, actually, no, sorry, you're right. Yeah, low block. Yeah, you're completely right. I've just got that messed up in my head. I'm excited, but I don't know what to expect from it. Atletico Madrid, we know if they want to play the way that they can play, they could really hurt Manchester United. It could be a really frustrating game. They're the sorts of games that Atletico Madrid love. They love frustrating opposition and then just blistering on the counter-attack and then winning the game. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. But as I can see from the comments, lots of you are excited, but a lot of you have got some trepidation as well. Now, moving on from that. So we've spoken about Anthony Martial. We've spoken about Brentford and the shambles of that decision-making process. Spoke a little bit there about Atletico Madrid. Let's move back to the January transfer window and let's speak about a certain Jesse Lingard. This comes from Fabrizio Romano himself, saying that Newcastle are targeting Sven Botman, who, of course, we were linked with during the summer. I say we were linked with. United fans wanted us to be linked with him during the summer, and Jesse Lingard. Let's scroll down here. And Newcastle have made Lille centre-back Sven Botman a priority signing in the January transfer window, with Manchester United's Jesse Lingard also on Eddie Howe's wish list. We scroll down here. Said Howe is also looking to sign Lingard from United, either on loan or a permanent deal. The 28-year-old has yet to start a league game this campaign. West Ham too are interested in Lingard, with the player having had a successful loan spell there for the second part of last season. So Jesse Lingard, do you think he will leave Manchester United in January? You type it in the comments now, yes or no. I'll try and gauge the opinion from our little poll. But I think he absolutely should leave. And I think it absolutely is right that he leaves. Look, I think he'll probably go Manchester United. If he goes out on, he won't go out on loan, will he? Because why would they? I don't know. They can get him for free in the summer. So why would anybody go and sign him on a permanent deal in winter? Unless it's for like maybe like a couple of million. Maybe it will just cover Lingard's wages until the end of the season. We're not going to get much for him. That's for sure. Let me see what you're saying down here in the comments about whether or not you think he could be leaving. Anna, do you think he will? Anthony, you definitely think he should. Or Mark, yeah, you think Vidash, Josh, or Ian. No, Mark, you disagree. But the majority here are saying yes. Jonathan, you're saying no more loans for players we want shot of, just sell. I don't think, when it comes to loaning players out, I don't think it's necessarily been a massive choice for Manchester United. I think it's been because we've just got players with such inflated wages that clubs can't afford. The only way we can shift them is by loaning them out. So I think that's what that situation is. Chris saying, yes, Ollie linked with the Everton job. Jason, if you're talking about that, the links from David Ornstein, quote, end quote, you need to look at his username again. I can see, why do people get trolled so easily? Seriously. It was a fake account. Get 100 million for Lingard. I think that's a pretty cheap. I should probably go 120 million for Lingard. Cash up front only. Lump sum, baby. Lingard, Martial, Matic, and Mata. Pogba all will go, says Martin. He's having an absolute free-for-all in January. As I said, I'm going to be doing my dream January transfer window when I do a video later on today. Because, look, there's going to be no football now for a few days. So what we should do is focus on what I always like to do on United People's TV with videos. Something I've always tried to do is look forward, look ahead, do something that there's a conversation that we can have about something that hasn't happened yet. Because if you just focus on the past, it's sort of like things have already happened. So, you know, as much as it's kind of good to react to it, obviously the reactions to football games and stuff, you can't really help that. But I like having conversations about things that could happen, because that's when you get debate. That's when you get sort of everyone gets engaged in a conversation. You can see both sides of the coin. Hey, let's see what goes on there. But for me, Jesse Lingard absolutely should be leaving Manchester United in January. I don't think it's a question. I think it's a question of where rather than if. And if you're looking at Newcastle and you're looking at West Ham, let me know in the comments. This will be an interesting one. Which do you think Lingard would prefer? A move to Newcastle or a move to West Ham? Because a move to West Ham would be very simple and straightforward for Lingard, going back to a place where he knows he's loved, he enjoyed it, he thrived there. They're towards the top of the Premier League. Hell, they might be pushing for a top 4 finish this year. That would be good. Or do you think he'd want to be one of the first arrivals for this new Newcastle regime? Because that's hella exciting. I mean, you're looking probably at bigger money there. You're looking at a more central role. One of the key first signings of that Eddie Howe regime. Can they survive? Can they stay up? I don't know. Let me know what you think about that, because they're two very, very different moves to this point in his career. At West Ham, he'd go there and he'd just be another player. At Newcastle, he'd go there and he'd be like one of the main players. So sort of like big fish, small pond, all the way around. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I'm going to go down here because I reckon this will be an interesting sort of debate in the comments. Darren, you think West Ham. Paul, you think West Ham. But Jonathan, you think Newcastle would be a better move for him and money talks? Or you're saying to get more money there, depends on what he wants. Chris Ball, you're saying West Ham. Arfan, you're saying West Ham. Lots and lots of you saying West Ham here. I genuinely think he prefer Newcastle. I think for the he's already been there, you know, got a t-shirt at West Ham, and that didn't get him into the squad for the Euros. Of course, he could go there, and then West Ham could end up being a top 4 finish, and it could be fantastic for him. But I just think at this point in his career, I think Lingard wants a more central role. I think an ideal move for him would probably be Arsenal. We'd love that. Aubameyang leaving, bring Lingard in. Not that Lingard's a replacement for Aubameyang, but I don't know. It strikes me that Newcastle would be a move that he would prefer at this point in his career. Gungshi, if Jesse goes to Newcastle, can we throw in Phil Jones as a freebie? We can throw in Phil Jones, a half-eaten packet of jammy Dodgers, and I think they'll take it. Absolutely, yes, please. Shane, the match got cancelled tonight, says Mark. We had just started to pick up form and could have went 4th. Hey, look, I mean, form, yeah, I mean, we were starting to pick up results for sure. I don't think anybody can call that Norwich game form. Crystal Palace, we certainly have form, but 2 1-0s in a row, yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. But at the same time, maybe it's something that's going to help United, because let's be honest, we didn't train the day after Norwich and we didn't train on Monday at all. So we've had basically half a training session since the Norwich game. And as we saw against Norwich, we weren't in the best of form, were we? We weren't in the best of form. Newcastle will be relegated this season, says Ashley. I mean, you can't rule that out. They are looking absolutely abysmal at the moment. But I don't know. I kind of be surprised. Not surprised. I'd be a little bit surprised if he chose West Ham out of those two options. Because at Newcastle, he had a real opportunity to make himself like club legend might be the wrong way to describe it, but someone who really gets into the heart of Newcastle fans. Certainly if he can help them avoid relegation for sure. But it's interesting. Let's see what goes on there. Club, I'd almost be surprised if Jesse Lingard's a Manchester United player come the 1st of February. Let's move over here and let's move on to the next play we need to speak about, because January, we don't know what's going to go on with Edinson Cavani. Fabrizio Romano was tweeting about him saying this: there are no talks between Edinson Cavani and the Corinthians board. As things stand, Timao dream of Cavani. That must be the local name for Corinthians. Timao dreams of Cavani, but there is nothing advanced. Many European clubs are interested in Cavani, but no decision has yet been made with Manchester United for the January transfer window. So what's your take on old Eddie? Eddie. Do you think that he will be a Manchester United player come the 1st of February? Or do you think that it could be the time where we see him say goodbye? I'm very much... I've no idea. I have no idea with this one, Cavani, because he's hardly played at all this season. A lot of injuries have hampered his progress, and it's a bit like what happened in last season, right? You hardly really saw him in the first half of the campaign, and then obviously, from like January, February onwards, he just sort of like, woof, he just out of nowhere just became one of our most important players, and that's when you saw Greenwood's form sort of go through the roof. And Cavani was great, absolutely great. But he's being linked with Barcelona now. He's being linked with Corinthians. I don't think Cavani would be short of suitors. But if you're looking at this Rangnick squad, is there anybody better than him that could play in that system? I'm not sure. I'm going to head down to the comments here and get your opinions here on Edinson Cavani. Gary Cole, you're saying we'd be absolutely mad to let him go. And you think you've got a strong suspicion he's going Barca. Been brilliant for us, but understandably pissed he's been overlooked for Ronaldo. As I said, a bit annoyed maybe that he's been overlooked by Ronaldo, but a lot of it's been injury related. Aaron, you think that he's going to head to Barcelona before he goes back to South America? Vashnav, you're saying keep him. And Menos, you're saying I'd love him to stay. United showed he's still got it in him, and now everyone wants him. I don't know. I'm confused on this one. As I said, I thought that Cavani was leaving towards the end of last year, and Solskjaer convinced him to stay, and then he stayed. And then he stayed in Uruguay for like a 3-month holiday. And then let's see what else is going on there. No updates there. Okay, ignore all that. Sorry, carry on. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't put my finger on that one, if I'm being completely honest. I love Cavani. And when Cavani's fit to play, Cavani is an absolute monster of a player. Absolute monster. And I would love to see him get a proper opportunity inside this system. Certainly with the form that Marcus Rashford is in right now. Edinson Cavani starting up top alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, a bit like we saw in that game against Spurs, right? That was the first game of the season. We were like, huh? Man United are controlling the game of football. We were confused about it. We were like, what's going on here? That's because we played 2 up top. Ronaldo wasn't isolated. We can clearly see that's how you play with Ronaldo inside this Manchester United team. Do not leave him isolated. He can't play in like a 4-3-3 like he did at Real Madrid when it was like Bale and Benzema and Ronaldo up top on his own. Ronaldo needs a player alongside him so he can bounce off them. Find those runs in behind, quick 1-2s. Good. Cavani, not sure if anybody will do that better than him. Really interesting there. Jonathan, you're saying Cavani's superb, but he's been injured a lot. He has been injured a lot. As I said, a lot of his absence this season is not necessarily to do with Cristiano Ronaldo. It's to do with the fact that he has been injured. As I said, very similar to the first season. Or saying I'm happy if he stays and okay if he goes. I like him, but I don't care. A bit like Paul Pogba. Man, I think I've said this to you before. I'm kind of done with talking about Paul Pogba. I'm done with my oxygen being spent on speaking about the Paul Pogba situation because it's just a circle that I've walked around, run around far too many times before. And I don't want to get dragged into the circus anymore. I don't want Manchester United to get dragged into the circus anymore. And I know he's a great player and I know he'll be great in the system, but I just do not care. If Paul Pogba signs a new contract tomorrow, you're damn right I'm going to support him as a Manchester United player. But I will not beg. I will not do anything. I will just literally wait now for him to either sign a deal or get out of my club. One of those two. Paul, you make your choice. I'm happy with either of them, all right? I just can't be asked. I can't be asked. This will bring even more condensed fixtures over Christmas, says Innes. So I think that, as I said, Innes, we were looking at the calendars earlier. I believe we're looking at a reschedule for this Brentford game. It's going to be towards the end of January, February. There's a little tiny winter break there. I believe it's going to go there. Let's go over here and let's move on to the next conversation. As I said, there's plenty to talk about this morning. There's another comment here from Gungshi. Cheers for your super chats, buddy. It says, Cavani always gives us all. Has fantastic movement and sense of space. I would have thought when fit, he'd be perfect up front with Ronaldo. He would be perfect up front with Ronaldo. And certainly what I'm saying right now is you're looking at Rashford's form. He shouldn't be in that starting 11. And I always maintain that players should be in the teams according to their form. Mason Greenwood right now, kind of surprised he didn't start against Norwich. And it kind of got proven because Rashford again was pretty poor. Let's go up here and see what else you're saying in the comments before we move on to the next one. And what you're saying, read your comment out. I can't help but think we should now be looking towards our future up front. We know Ronnie is on limited time. Greenwood isn't anywhere near being ready to lead the line, so we need to plan now. We know what the plan is, I think, my friend. It's just whether or not we can execute it. And that is Martial leaving, Cavani leaving, and Erling Haaland coming in. Done. Your situation's fine. You got Erling Haaland, you got Cristiano Ronaldo alongside Haaland for a year, maybe 2 years. You got Greenwood coming through, learning from Ronaldo and Haaland, the greatest goal scorer of the generation, and probably not soon too, but the person who will become the greatest goal scorer of his generation, playing alongside each other, and Greenwood learning from both of them. You're not going to get a better situation than that at all. But whether or not we pull off the Haaland deal is a different ball game altogether because Raiola's been chatting shit. I actually haven't got the quotes up here, but he's just been talking out of his ass. You know what Raiola's like. As I said, any player represented by him and loves him because he is the villain in the press and he doesn't mind being the Joker or the Riddler. He doesn't mind being the Batman villain because the player they can just sit in the shadows and just take it all in. And sometimes, most of the time, they get cracking deals out of it. But look, let's move on and let's speak about another player, Frenkie de Jong. I spoke about Frenkie de Jong in my full story. I did a full story look on the de Jong rumours. I believe that's that last week. And yeah, I don't think it's massively likely that we can go in for him. But his agent, his father has been speaking about the situation. And he names Manchester United directly. Not in a positive way, though. Bayern Munich or Man United, the weather is horrible there. Well, can't really lie about that. I know Barcelona needs money and a big offer for Frenkie could help. But I don't see it happening. Although the top 5 European clubs have all called. Now, in my opinion, Man United are one of those top 5 European clubs. Do you think United are one of those top 5 European clubs now? Who else would it be? PSG, City, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Bayern? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether they're in that top 5 anymore. Sad times. But look, that's what his father said there. He says, I don't see it happening, but all the top 5 European clubs have come sniffing around. And Barcelona, they need money. They need monies. Barcelona is such a poorly run football club for the last, I don't know how many years. They need to sell players before they can buy players. And if Xavi wants to make any signings, they have to sell players, maybe like Frenkie for sure. Now, of course, we'd all take him. That's not the question I'm asking you here at all. But look, if we go over to Fabrizio Romano, I think he said something about him. Let's have a look here. He said, there are no negotiations right now for Frenkie de Jong to Manchester United in January as it stands. So right now, de Jong, nil point. But do you think there's any chance that he could leave Barcelona this January? I think there's definitely a chance he could leave Barcelona in January. No doubt about that whatsoever. I just don't know whether it's going to be to Manchester United or not. Would I like it to be? You're damn right I'd like it to be. In my full story video, I took a look at de Jong's stats and I compared him to Amadou Haidara and Fred in terms of what's his pressing game like, what's his ball carrying like, what's his dribbling like, what's his progressive passing like. And if you saw that Haidara and Fred just lit up the pressures sections where they got their pressures, their blocks, their interceptions and tackles, you look at de Jong and he didn't. He was poor in all of those areas, but what he was great at was ball carrying, ball progression, playmaking from deep. That's what Frenkie de Jong is good at. And if we're being completely honest, that is the key thing missing inside that midfield. As much as someone like Amadou Haidara would come in and clearly would do a brilliant job inside this Ragnick midfield, maybe it's someone like de Jong who could really come in and be that sort of deep line playmaker, the quarterback that we don't have there because Scott McTominay can't play that role. Although, as I said, let me quickly rewind to the Norwich game. There were certain people that just couldn't compliment Scott McTominay after that performance against Norwich. And that's when an agenda stinks. When a player plays well, like McTominay played very well against Norwich. No, you might not like him, but his defending was good, his organisation was good, and critically, his forward passing was good. McTominay sprayed, like, I remember, at least 5 or 6 or 7 really well hit, low, hard passes, 20, 30, 40-yard passes, switches of play, little dinks over the top. He was taking the ball forward and he was breaking the lines. McTominay did well against Norwich. And certain individuals, also quite a few United fans actually, really, just could not praise him. Just could not and would not praise Scott McTominay for that performance. And I thought it was a bit odd. I thought it was a little bit odd. I'm not saying that he pulled up trees. I'm not saying he did anything groundbreaking, but midfielders, typically, they don't have to do anything groundbreaking. I think he did a lot of good things right in that game. And I think McTominay will be and should be a good squad player for Manchester United for a good few years. The only issue is right now is he's starting too often. And that is why United fans are ultimately frustrated with him. If it went to the position where McTominay turned into a squad player like a la Darren Fletcher, I'm not just saying that because he's Scottish. It's just that I can see a lot of similarities in the ceiling of that player, but also the utter commitment to play for United. Would we have won that Champions League final if Fletcher didn't get sent off for what was a fair tackle on Fabregas? Well, we certainly missed him in that final against Barcelona. And McTominay strikes me as another one of those players. I don't think he deserves half of the shit that he gets from United fans. Yeah, he's not going to be a Frenkie de Jong. Yeah, he's not going to be a Xavi. But he will give 110%. And for a lot of us fans who have watched the shit that we've seen and the commitment and the attitude of a lot of players, that's why McTominay comes so refreshing. And as I said, I think he's better than people give him credit for. My opinion, anyway. My opinion. Very good squad player. And when we sign someone else who comes in as our starting central midfielder, watch the love for McTominay increase. That's all it is. That's all it is. Let me go down here. You've always liked Scott, says Josh. I've never understood why people go after him so bad. I think it's because of the situation with our midfield, Josh. I think it's simply because people are so angry that we haven't signed a midfielder that anybody who plays in midfield gets scapegoated for it. Bit like Fred for a long, long time. Jeez, I went after him after that Everton game. Remember that? When he went shoulder to shoulder with Damari Gray, who's basically got the physique of a 4-year-old girl, and he got pushed off the ball. I was like, Fred, how have you managed that? How have you managed that? After Fredemption comes Macdemption. I'm not sure Macdemption really works there, Leslie. Fredemption, I'll give you that. But you're not having Macdemption. You've got to come up with something better than that. De Jong's story, says Vishnu. As I said, De Jong's story is this. His dad's been speaking about it, and he said the weather in Manchester is absolutely crap. But if we know that Barcelona need money, it is what it is. Let's see what goes on with De Jong. As it stands, I don't think anything will go on. There was a little comment here that I wanted to bring up as well that was quite important. Now, Lindelof, of course, went off with chest pains against Norwich, and it was a bit of a worry for United fans watching him. Maya, his wife, has said this about the situation. Said he did a lot of tests and has a heart monitor on for 2 days to make sure everything is okay. It was a scary match to watch, and Victor was very sad and worried afterwards, incredibly uncomfortable, especially when I did not get hold of him, which I always get. But as I said, Maya there saying he's done a lot of tests and he's got a heart monitor on for the next 2 days to make sure everything is okay. So I imagine fingers crossed there, not good luck, but fingers crossed here that the Victor's completely okay. And it was nothing more than, I don't know what it was, but hopefully it's nothing to do with any sort of serious underlying condition. And we all wish him the best. Absolutely do. And obviously, I think even if the Brentford game went ahead, Lindelof will be absolutely nowhere near that starting 11. I think he'll be given a week at least just to sort of for everything to settle down, for us to do more and more tests and make sure that he's okay. But look, before I wrap up, I'll give you a couple of minutes, ladies and gents. Fire in your questions. Anything you want to ask me, you let me know in the comments below. And I think I've said this before, actually. I'm going to do it next week at some point in the build up to Christmas. We'll do like a Christmas, I don't know, like a Christmas call-in show. We'll all get drunk and I'll invite anybody, not just members, anybody here on the stream to come on and ask me a question within reason. Within reason. I'm sure it's going to be a show which actually descends into chaos. But you know, why not? Near Christmas, you're allowed to do these sorts of things. But as a quick recap of the show, we talked about the postponement of the Brentford game. Brentford's not going ahead tonight. No United until Saturday at the very earliest. And let's be honest, that might be cancelled. If that is the case, then it won't be any United game until the 27th. And Newcastle. Wow. And it could happen. You can't rule it out. We spoke about that. We spoke about Anthony Martial and his comments to the press from his agent. We spoke about Atletico Madrid, about Lingard to Newcastle, about Cavani to Barcelona, about De Jong and what's going on there, and about Lindelof there towards the end. Hey, yeah, it was a busy enough show. As I said, what I'm going to do in the next 48 hours, I'm focusing purely on transfers. I'm focusing on what's coming ahead and what's coming next for United. It's always good. It's exactly why I did those videos on Ralph Rangnick during the international break at the start when I was getting some pelters from United fans saying I was being disrespectful. But no, it's called foresight. It's being able to see more than a day in front of yourself. And I could see that Solskjaer was a week or 2 weeks away from losing his job. So I did those videos, and lo and behold, everybody enjoyed those videos when the actual news came out. So I'm going to try and do the same thing when it comes to transfers, because I think it's important to look ahead. Scott is an okay player, says Lee. Good for the club, but he's a squad player. Should be on the bench. I think he's a squad player there. Jonathan saying a Christmas special, but stay fully clothed, please. That is not guaranteed, right? There could be nudity. There won't be nudity. That's on my OnlyFans channel. Got to keep it there. Jeez, come on. Ask yourself why athletes are getting heart problems. What have they all had? A lot of training? Don't really know where you're going with that one. Ant saying, Sam, can we have a look at some slightly less well-known players but top potential? Yeah, I can do some research into that. If anybody's got any names you want to throw on the list, send them in to me. But my video today that I'm going to focus on is just going to be like my dream transfer window. I'm going to be looking at the players that I think United could sign and should sign, and also the players that should be leaving. You're lying. You're lying. John Jones with the question that everyone's asking, is there life on Mars? Now, next week, we've got our quantum physics lecture that we're going to have on Thursday at 3 p.m. So make sure you join in for that one. And at 4 p.m., we'll also be speaking about life on Mars, or just David Bowie's song. McGinn, that's a rogue one. Hey, look, I'll wrap it up now. I'm going to start waffling and chatting shit. Thank you very much for joining this morning. It's a bit of an annoying one, really. The game against Brentford's been postponed. I'm not. A, that's the right decision. B, I think it's a disgrace that it took until midnight the night before the game for that decision to be made. It's left a lot of United fans out of pocket. And I thought fans were the lifeblood of football. That's not what happened with that decision there. Kamara from Marseille on a free. That's one I'll definitely talk about. But look, make sure you catch the video later on today. I will probably get that out. What's the time now? 20 past 10. I'll try and get that out around about 1 p.m.-ish. And that'll be my dream Manchester United January transfer window. And then let's just focus on transfers the next couple of days, because there's no football and there's nothing else to really talk about, is there? So have a nice day. What do you reckon? I quite like this shirt. I've got another one as well. Might wear that tomorrow. Take it easy, everyone. Make sure you drop a like on the video if you're here, and subscribe if you're new.